Most people over 70 are told the same thing: eat a balanced diet and stay active. It sounds sensible. It sounds safe. But here is what nobody tells you: a balanced diet alone does not protect your legs, and it does not protect your independence. You can eat what your doctor called a perfectly good diet for 10 straight years and still lose the strength you need to stand up from a low chair without pushing off with your hands. That is not a failure of willpower. It is a failure of information. Rehabilitation clinics see this every single week: people who ate reasonably well and still lost the muscle that carries them through a doorway. Today, I am giving you 5 things that change how your body uses protein after 70, plus the one insight that almost no 12-minute appointment has time to cover. The number one item on this list is something almost nobody talks about. Stay with me until the end, because that one can change how you approach the next 10 years. Here is why your doctor has not walked you through this. A standard appointment runs about 12 to 15 minutes. In that window, your doctor must review your medications, check your blood pressure, look at your recent labs, and address whatever brought you in that day. Nutrition timing is not an emergency, so it never makes the list. It is not neglect. It is arithmetic. There is simply no room in 15 minutes for a conversation that needs 40. I am not here to sell you a supplement or scare you into a course. This channel exists to give you the science a 12-minute appointment never has time to cover. There is nothing to buy in this video. Everything I described today can be done with food you already have in your kitchen. And the stakes here are not abstract. This is about rising from the toilet without grabbing the wall. It is about carrying one bag of groceries up 3 steps. It is about staying in your own home, on your own terms, for as long as you choose. Before we go further, tell me your age and your city in the comments. I want to see who is here with me tonight. Now here is the mechanism, and please do not skip this section. It is the key to everything that follows. Muscle is not a storage tank. Muscle is a construction site that is being torn down and rebuilt every single day. Protein is the delivery truck bringing bricks to that site. After about age 70, something changes at the gate. The site stops accepting small deliveries. Think of it like a river barge dock. When you were 30, a rowboat with 10 bricks could pull up and the crew would unload it. Now the crew only opens the dock for a full barge. Send 4 small rowboats through the day, and the dock stays closed all 4 times. Send 1 full barge, and the crew comes out and builds. Researchers call this anabolic resistance. I call it a raised gate. And the gate is why the total on your plate matters less than the size of each single delivery. If this is already making sense to you, tap the like button. That one tap is what puts this video in front of another person who is quietly losing strength and does not know why. Number 5, the 2-egg breakfast, replaced by a 4-egg breakfast or 2 eggs plus a cup of cottage cheese. Here is why this matters more than it sounds. 2 eggs give you roughly 12 grams of protein. 12 grams is a rowboat, not a barge. The dock stays closed, and those 12 grams get burned for energy instead of used for building. You did not waste the food, but you wasted the opportunity. And after 70, you only get 3 or 4 of those opportunities a day. Morning is the one most people give away for free. Large observational studies of older adults have consistently found that protein intake is heavily backloaded, with breakfast providing the least of any meal. That is the exact opposite of what an aging muscle needs, and it is one of the most consistent findings in the entire field. So here is the protocol. Aim for 25 to 30 grams of protein at breakfast within about 1 hour of waking. That is 4 eggs, or 2 eggs plus 1 cup of cottage cheese, or 2 eggs plus 1 cup of Greek yogurt. Start at 3 eggs for 1 week if 4 feels like too much food, then add the 4th. Do this every morning, not most mornings. The doc does not remember yesterday. The error almost everyone makes is counting the toast and the orange juice toward the target. They do not count. Only the protein counts. If you have been told to watch your cholesterol, use 2 whole eggs plus 2 egg whites, or 2 eggs plus the cottage cheese. If you take medication for kidney disease, talk to your doctor before changing your protein intake at all. That is one case where more is not automatically better. And if a large breakfast leaves you uncomfortably full, stop at what is comfortable and build up across 2 weeks rather than forcing it in one morning. Pair this breakfast with your first real walk of the day. Because movement within a couple of hours of a protein meal opens that dock wider. Food and movement are partners here, not separate items on a to-do list. The meal supplies the bricks, and the walking calls out the crew. But even a perfect breakfast can be undone by what happens at the other end of your day. Breakfast opens the dock once, and once is not enough. The next item closes a gap that no morning meal can reach, no matter how large you make it. Number 4, the evening protein collapse, corrected with a fixed dinner floor of 30 grams. Most people over 70 eat a large lunch and a small supper. Soup, toast, maybe a little cheese. That is a comfortable habit and a costly one. Overnight, your body goes 8 to 10 hours with no incoming delivery, and the teardown side of that construction site keeps working the entire time. Without a substantial evening delivery, you wake up having lost slightly more than you built. Repeat that for a year, and the losses compound quietly, in your thighs first. Clinical nutrition research in older adults has repeatedly shown better muscle retention when protein is spread evenly across meals rather than concentrated in one. The pattern holds even when the daily total is identical between groups. The protocol is a floor, not a maximum. 30 grams at dinner, every night. That is a palm-sized piece of chicken or fish, roughly 4 to 5 ounces. It is also 1 cup of lentils plus 2 ounces of cheese if you prefer to eat less meat. Eat it no later than about 2 hours before bed, so digestion is not competing with sleep. If dinner is currently soup and toast, do not overhaul it overnight. Add 1 boiled egg and 2 ounces of cheese this week, then a full portion next week. The mistake here is thinking a late snack fixes it. A cracker at 9 o'clock is a rowboat again. If chewing meat is difficult, use flaked fish, ground meat in a sauce, or cottage cheese, which need almost no chewing. If you take a blood thinner, keep your green vegetable portions steady, rather than suddenly doubling them, and mention any big diet change to your doctor. If a full dinner portion sits heavily and disturbs your sleep, move the meal 30 minutes earlier rather than shrinking it. Pair your dinner protein with a chair-based sit-to-stand set, which I will describe in a moment, because doing 5 slow stands about an hour after eating tells your legs specifically where to send those bricks. The pairing matters more than either half alone. Now, getting the amount right at both ends of the day still leaves one problem completely untouched. Your body has to actually recognize the protein you just ate, and that recognition is a separate mechanism from the amount. Keep that in mind, because the number 1 item on this list is the rule that decides whether any of this counts at all. Number 3, the leucine threshold and the specific foods that clear it. Protein is not one substance. It is a chain of building blocks, and one of them acts as the ignition key. That block is called leucine. Think of your muscle-building machinery as a furnace with a pilot light. Protein is the fuel, but leucine is the spark that lights it. Below a certain amount of leucine in a single meal, the fuel sits there unlit. After 70, that spark threshold rises, which is exactly why the same meal that worked at 50 does less at 75. Metabolic studies in older adults have consistently identified a leucine threshold per meal that is higher than the threshold in younger adults. The same meal that triggered a full building response at 50 can fall below the line at 75. Practically, you need roughly 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine per meal, and the simplest way to hit it is by choosing the right sources rather than counting anything. Whey or dairy, eggs, chicken, fish, and beef are the strongest. 1 cup of Greek yogurt, 4 ounces of chicken, or a scoop of whey and milk each clear the threshold on their own. Plant sources run lower, so if you eat mostly plants, combine lentils with a dairy portion in the same sitting rather than in separate meals. Aim to clear this threshold at 3 meals a day, 7 days a week. The common error is spreading a good protein source thinly across the day. Half a chicken breast at lunch and half at dinner lights the furnace 0 times instead of twice. None of this requires a powder. If a supplement is easier for you, 1 standard scoop of whey and milk is fine, but check with your doctor first if you have any kidney condition. Anyone with a dairy intolerance should use eggs and fish as the backbone instead. Stop any food that reliably causes discomfort rather than pushing through it, because consistency over months matters far more than than any single ideal meal. Pair leucine-rich meals with your protein timing from items 5 and 4 because the threshold and the schedule are the same rule seen from two angles. Hit the amount, hit the spark, 3 times a day. That combination is worth more than any single perfect meal. And here's what makes the number one item on this list so different. Everything so far assumes your body is absorbing what you eat and has a reason to use it. That assumption is often wrong, and the reason sits one item away. Number 2, the anchored sit to stand. 5 slow repetitions after your 2 largest meals. This is not exercise in the way most people mean it. It is a signal. Protein delivers bricks, but the body will not build a wall nobody is leaning on. Contracting your thigh muscles shortly after eating is what tells your body that this specific tissue is in demand. Without that signal, more protein mostly means more expensive urine. Exercise physiology research has repeatedly shown that muscle protein synthesis in older adults rises substantially higher when a protein meal is combined with resistance activity than with either alone. Neither one on its own comes close to what the two produce together. Here is the protocol. Sit in a dining chair with a firm seat, feet flat, hands crossed over your chest. Stand up slowly over a count of 3, then sit down even more slowly over a count of 4. That slow descent is where most of the benefit lives. Do 5 repetitions, once after breakfast and once after dinner, 6 days a week. Add 1 repetition per week until you reach 10. The error people make is dropping into the chair. Falling is not lowering, and it removes the most valuable half of the movement. For the senior safe version, place the chair against a wall so it cannot slide, and set a counter or a sturdy table within arm's reach in front of you. Keep your hands on that counter for the first 2 weeks if you need to. If you cannot rise without your hands at all, start from a higher surface. The edge of a bed works well. Sharp pain in the knee or hip means stop, not push through. Dizziness on standing means sit back down and mention it to your doctor. Pair this with the dinner protein floor from item 4. Eat your 30 grams, wait about 60 minutes, do your 5 slow stands. That sequence, delivery, then demand, is the entire point. But all of this still runs into one wall that no amount of protein or standing can climb over on its own. You can eat well and move well and still lose ground if the shape of your day is wrong. That wall is item number 1, and it is the rule that makes the other 4 work. Number 1, the crown of this list. The 25-gram plate rule applied to 3 meals a day, every single day. This is the rule that makes the other 4 work, and it is the one thing I would tell every person over 70 if I only had 60 seconds with them. Here is the mechanism in full. Your body cannot bank protein. There is no protein storage tank the way there is a fat storage tank. Every meal is a separate event, judged on its own, and either it clears the gate or it does not. Go back to that river dock. 100 grams of protein spread as 10 grams at a time across 10 small snacks opens the dock 0 times. The same 100 grams delivered as 3 barges of 30 grams opens it 3 times. Same total on paper, completely different result in your legs. This is why 2 people can eat identical daily totals and end up with entirely different bodies at 80. The total was never the variable. The per meal size always was. The current consensus among geriatric nutrition researchers is that older adults need meaningfully more protein per meal than younger adults to trigger the same muscle response. That consensus has moved steadily upward over the past 15 years, and general dietary advice has not caught up with it. The guidance most people were given decades ago was written for a body that no longer exists. So here's the full protocol. Every plate, 3 times a day, carries at least 25 grams of protein. 30 is better. Visually, that is a portion the size of your own palm, thickness included, of chicken, fish, or beef. It is 4 eggs. It is 1.5 cups of Greek yogurt. It is 1 cup of lentils, plus 2 ounces of cheese. Build the plate protein first, and let the vegetables and starch fill in around it, rather than the other way around. Spread the 3 meals at least 3 hours apart, because back-to-back meals blur into one delivery. If you currently eat 2 real meals a day, add the third before you enlarge the other two. Progress by 1 meal at a time over 3 weeks, not all three at once. And the error I want you to avoid above all others is the mental arithmetic of adding up your day. A good daily total built from small meals is the single most common way people convince themselves they are fine while losing ground. For the safe version of this rule, do not chase 30 grams if it makes you skip vegetables, skip water, or feel unwell. 25 is a working target, and 20 is a real improvement over 12. Anyone with chronic kidney disease should treat this rule as a conversation to have with their doctor, not a plan to start tonight. If you take diabetes medication, larger and more regular meals can change your blood sugar pattern, so tell your doctor before you restructure your day. Chewing difficulty is solved with softer sources, not smaller portions. And if a bigger plate causes reflux, sit upright for 30 minutes afterward rather than reducing the protein. Pair the plate rule with the sit to stand from item 2, and you have the whole system in one sentence. 3 barges a day, each one followed by a reason for your legs to unload it. That is the complete method. Everything else in nutrition after 70 is refinement on top of those 2 habits. This is the item I promised you at the start, and here is why it can change the next 10 years. Muscle loss after 70 is not a slope you slide down at a fixed rate. It is a series of small daily decisions about whether the dock opens or stays closed. 3 closed docks a day for a decade is a walker. 3 open docks a day for a decade is your own staircase, your own car, your own front door. Balance is not luck. Mobility is not genetics. Independence is trained. Consider a typical case documented in the rehabilitation literature. A 74-year-old woman comes in after a minor fall in her kitchen. She has not broken anything, but she can no longer rise from her low armchair without pushing off with both hands. Her diet on paper looks reasonable: tea and toast at 7, a sandwich at noon, soup and crackers at 6. The change made was small and specific. Breakfast became 2 eggs and a cup of Greek yogurt. Dinner became a palm-sized portion of fish or chicken with vegetables. 5 slow sit-to-stands were added after breakfast and after dinner, with the chair against the wall. Nothing else changed. No gym, no supplement, no special foods, and no change to any of her medications. At 12 weeks, she was rising from the same armchair without her hands. Her walking speed had improved measurably. She had gone from avoiding her own basement stairs to using them daily. That is not a dramatic story. That is what happens when the dock opens 3 times a day instead of 0. So here is exactly what to do, and none of it costs anything extra. 5 steps, starting tonight, and every one of them has a number attached, so there is nothing left to guess. Tonight, put 30 grams of protein on your dinner plate. That is a palm-sized piece of fish, chicken, or meat, thickness included, not a thin slice. Most people undershoot this by half without realizing it. Tonight, 1 hour after that dinner, do 5 slow sit-to-stands with your chair against a wall. 3 seconds to rise, 4 seconds to lower. The slow lowering is the half people skip, and it is the half that works. Tomorrow morning, eat 25 to 30 grams of protein within 1 hour of waking. That is 4 eggs or 2 eggs plus 1 cup of cottage cheese. The toast and the juice do not count toward that number. This week, make sure all 3 of your daily meals clear 25 grams, spaced at least 3 hours apart. 2 large meals and 1 small one is the pattern that quietly costs you a decade of stair climbing. This week, add 1 repetition to your sit-to-stands every 7th day until you reach 10. 1 per week, not 5 at once. The progression is slow on purpose, because that is what keeps you doing it in March. Think of someone in your life who has started using their hands to get out of a chair. This information is more useful to them today than it will be in 2 years. Send it to them tonight, while it is still prevention and not repair. Tell me in the comments which of these you are starting tonight. Your answers decide exactly what I cover next. And if you want more of the science that a short appointment never has time to cover, subscribe. This channel exists to keep seniors strong, informed, and in their own homes. This video is education, not a diagnosis. Your own doctor knows your history, so bring this list to your next appointment. I'm Laura Bennett. Don't forget to subscribe and live longer.